Hey, it's Grady at Twin Creek Audio, back in the studio again today. When Heath Rogers was here and helped me out with the Soundcraft Spirit Live video, he also brought me a new Homespun Centaurs single to work on. We completed the drum tracks, and Heath did some drum editing because he's really good at that kind of thing. And so in this video, I'd like to mix this new Homespun Centaur single. This will be the first thing that I've mixed on this channel through the Louder Than Liftoff Royal Blue color modules that we're actually releasing. A lot of my mixing videos are older things that have already been released, and I'm just mixing them for demonstration videos. This is yet another new Homespun Centaur single. We mixed one here on the channel back at the beginning of the year called Too Many Things. So you can check out that video. I'll put a link to that video at the end of this one and in the video description. But today I'm going to get started mixing the new Homespun Centaurs single. So I have the new Homespun Centaurs single set up on the console. I'm going to mix it through the console like we did the last Homespun Centaurs single, Too Many Things. And again, I'll put a link to that video where we mixed the other Homespun Centaurs single at the end of this video. So this is probably the second time on the channel I've mixed something through the analog gear that's actually going to be released. A lot of the mixing videos I do are older material that's already been released, and they're really good for demonstrations, and I like to see what I can do with some of the older material. But this is a new single, Homespun Centaurs. Up on the console, we've got kick, snare, stereo toms, stereo overheads, bass guitar, stereo acoustic guitar, electric guitars here, panned various ways. This is a bridge section mono acoustic guitar here. I do have some EQ on the drums. There is surprisingly no EQ on the toms this time. I have those turned off completely. The kick drum, I'm just boosting some high mids for a little bit of attack, but we want a real round kick drum sound on this. So I'm not doing a whole lot of high mids. It's a little bit lower frequency I'm boosting than usual, and I'm rolling out some low mids. The snare drum, I'm boosting just a touch around 6K, and I'm boosting some low mids to fatten that snare drum up a little bit. It is kind of a dead snare drum sound. The kick drum is going through the LA Audio 4x4 compressor. The snare is going through the Symmetrics 501 compressor. The toms aren't going through any compression, no EQ or compression on the toms. And the overheads, also no compression, but we have some 12K boost as well as some 7K boost, and removing a little bit from both of them around 800 Hertz. I don't have anything on channel 7. Normally I would have a room mic here, but I don't have a room mic. We didn't record a room mic on this song. Bass guitar. This is stereo acoustic guitars, then electric guitars from here to here, and then this is another acoustic guitar for the bridge section of the song. Way over here we have backing vocal and lead vocal, and I have each of these going through one side of the ART TCS compressor. The lead vocal is going through the vocal preset, the V3 knob set on vocal, and it's the one where you're basically getting optical compression with the VCA on top to knock down any peaks that get through the optical compression. The background vocal is the same, except it's not the stacked mode. This is just running through the vocal optical compression V3 preset on the ART TCS. I'm doing a cool trick again with the Phatronics Reamper and the UniVibe, and I've got that on vocals and some of the electric guitar in the mix. And then I have the Yamaha Rev 500 with a plate reverb sound on the lead vocal, backing vocal, and several of the guitars. I don't have it on the main acoustics as much, but I do have it on the bridge acoustic, just a touch of it. And I've got quite a bit of it on the electric guitars that are playing more melodies and textures and things, and less on the ones that are playing chords. Before I move on to playing back the mix and describing some of the troubles that I've had with this one, I want to mention that everything is going through the Louder Than Liftoff Royal Blue color modules, and I have that high shelf circuit with the little jumpers on those, that's on. So we're going through those, the whole thing. Those are on the insert of the master bus.
Wave your sail, you can never tell. These things you could not sell got stuck inside of fantasy, and now the price is just enough when all your life's reduced to dust and pharmacy. When what's in front of you is all you ever see. I'm waiting for release. It's deep and wide, those things you could not hide. They cripple you inside, and you think it's been infecting me. You need a friend to...
It sounds really good. I have had a lot of trouble getting the snare sound right in this. I want it to be kind of softer and, you know, like a tea towel taped to the snare kind of sound during the softer sections. But then I want a little bit more ambience whenever everything kind of picks up, and as the intensity builds, I'd like to have a little bit of reverb on it. So I've kind of done that by adding a sample with a little bit of ambience on it. So I'm not adding that snare to the main reverb that the vocal's going through, the Yamaha Rev 500. I've just added a sample with Steven Slate trigger that has some ambience, but that ambience is only kicking in when the snare drum's being hit a little bit harder. So that was a pretty cool trick, but that was giving me some trouble getting that snare sound right in this mix. So it's a good thing I've got the digital tools and the analog tool, so I can get the awesome analog sound, and I can still use tricks like that in the box to get what I need out of the mix. I'm going to play just the stereo acoustic guitars right now. I don't really have much of anything on these. They're just recorded well and they sound really good, and this is basically the foundation that everything else is playing off of, is these main acoustic guitars that go through the entire song. And then this other one adds in during the bridge, and I've made that a little more dominant there, but this is the main acoustic guitar. And that sounds really good. There's very, very little EQ, and there's no compression on that guitar. I know Heath likes to record with one mic in front of the guitar, one over the shoulder. I'm not sure exactly how he did this. He failed to mention that to me this time. But it's a very nice sounding stereo acoustic guitar track without needing a lot of help. I'm going to play the drums by themselves now so you can hear kind of how the snare is changing a little bit through the different sections. I'm going to start now and play just the guitars. I'm going to start in the section before the bridge, and then the bridge will come in and we'll hear this other acoustic guitar come into the mix. I'm going to go from roughly the same section and I'm going to play just the electric guitars. So you can hear the electric guitars, they have very minimal EQ on the console for this mix. And I'm running some of them through the UniVibe on the auxiliary send. So we're actually sending guitars and vocals through the UniVibe. And again, I'm doing my stereo trick with the UniVibe. I'm taking the output of the UniVibe, which is actually going into the DI instrument input of my PreSonus MP20. The output of that is hitting a mult or a parallel on the patch bay to duplicate it. Then I'm sending both of the duplicated sides to left and right of the stereo channel, and then moving the width control over towards the huge side to kind of create some fake stereo UniVibe in the analog domain. So let's hear the electric guitars by themselves, and you'll definitely be able to hear the UniVibe on some of these. That is so cool. I love the way the UniVibe sounds. It sounds great on a send on the console. If you have a reamp and then a DI box, you can reamp an electric guitar with the overdrive sound and everything and go through the UniVibe, and you get roughly the same sound as a UniVibe and a guitar amp. And I can use it on that and the vocals at the same time in the mix. And this thing is just swirly. It's really cool. It sounds great in this mix. So I'm really pleased with this, and I'm glad that you guys joined me to see a little bit about how I finalized something that we're actually going to release. And I'm happy with this. I'm going to go ahead and print it. There's no guarantee that this will be the actual final release because I may come back to this later. This could be the final mix here.
Wave your sail, you can never tell. These things you could not sell got stuck inside of fantasy, and now the price is just enough when all your life's reduced to dust and pharmacy. When what's in front of you is all you ever see. I'm waiting for release. It's deep and wide, those things you could not hide. They cripple you inside, and you think it's been infecting me. You need a friend to feel your pain just enough when all you got is dust and pharmacy. I think I might be having a bad dream. I'm waiting for release. You need some time, and I need to unwind tonight. The car's down 59. passing by, it just keeps moving. And now the price is just enough when all your life's reduced to dust and pharmacy. Concrete behavior, grass and weeds, 5 feet from where the crossroads used to be, when nothing in this world could bother me. I'm waiting for release.
Outboard gear time, just so you know. The secret vocal reverb, Yamaha Rev 500, vocal plate 2, 30 milliseconds of pre-delay, 1.5 seconds of reverb time. I used the LA10, Yuri LA10 on the bass guitar, the Symmetrics 501 on the snare drum. The kick drum, I used the LA Audio 4x4, this side of it. These are the actual settings that I was using for the mix. I used the ART TCS on both of the vocals, the left side for the lead vocal and the right side for that background vocal. And for like the third time in a video, I used this rig with the Phatronics Reamper connected to the Dunlop UV1 UniVibe. Those are the actual settings I had on the UniVibe for this. The Reamper output goes into the UniVibe. Let me start over and explain that. The output for the console goes into the balanced input on the Reamper. Instrument level output from the Reamper goes into the input of the UniVibe. The output of the UniVibe going into the instrument input of this PreSonus MP20 mic preamp. Right there. That output of that side of the MP20 goes up to one of the mults on the patch bay. These are labeled parallel, but that far right one is going in, and then the two come back out and go into input of this stereo channel right here.
Wave your sail, you can never tell. These things you could not sell got stuck inside of fantasy, and now